I grabbed a pallet. I used my battery chainsaw to easily cut the edges of the pallet board. I used a hammer to bang the boards off and then removed the nails. I lined the boards up and used one vertically to create an even space between each board. I drew a pumpkin shape over 4 of the boards and then carefully marked the back of each board so I knew which way was up and which order they went in. I also marked 2 boards to put on the back lengthwise. I sanded the front and edges of each board with 150 grit sandpaper. I diluted orange spice colored acrylic paint with water and painted the sanded surfaces on each board, then immediately wiped the extra paint off with a clean cotton rag. Then I flipped them over with the back side up and spaced them on a flat surface in order, using that one extra board as a spacer again. I placed the 2 back pieces on vertically, making sure that all the wood boards were touching it. Secured the boards together, nailing from the back side. I drew out a stem, cut it with my jigsaw, sanded and painted it with watered down woodland brown colored acrylic paint. I used a pencil to draw a face and painted it with black acrylic paint.
Grab some small white pumpkins and 2 hanging baskets from your local dollar store. Flip one of the baskets upside down and connect the 2 baskets together by zip tying the middle. Take a eucalyptus garland and twist the wire end around one of the spokes of the wire globe. Start to wrap the garland. Take your time and move the leaves through the spaces as you wrap the garland. Twist, move, and arrange the leaves so they face outward. Take some battery-operated fairy lights and nestle the battery pack into the bottom of the globe. Begin to wrap the fairy lights over and around the bottom half of the basket globe. Wrap over the top. Next, fill in the center of the garland-wrapped globe with a generous amount of Spanish moss. Remember those white dollar store pumpkins? Give them a very light dusting of spray paint. Tuck them into the basket globe and nestle them into the Spanish moss. Hang your new pumpkin globe on a porch or from a tree branch.
Take your first 2 hula hoops and you're going to place them one inside the other. Take a zip tie and you're going to use it to join the 2 tops of the hula hoops. 2 of those together. Go ahead and use your scissors. Take off the excess zip ties right there. Turn it over. We got to do the same thing on the other side. And now it's time to put the 3rd one in. But go ahead and put it on the inside and put them together. We're going to take it outside and give it a nice paint job. Make sure the paint you use is good for plastic. So we're going to use some of these fairy lights. I went ahead and got the orange ones. They're easy to get off Amazon. They come with a remote. Go ahead and zip tie the battery pack to the bottom. This way it'll have some weight on the bottom when you're holding it steady. Go ahead and take the fairy lights and start wrapping. There's 33 feet of this. Plenty to go. Next, I got some 16 gauge wire. Use this and we're going to make the stem. I pre-drilled some holes with a drill, poked it through. Make sure you have plenty of wire and just wrap it around. The last step was some small fairy lights. These are only about a couple of feet long. Zip tie the control to the bottom, is wrap it all over. Use some wire or tent stake to hold your pumpkin down.
I spotted these styrofoam pumpkins. So I'm going to come in with some Krylon primer spray paint and I'm going to give these a very light coat. And then I took them back inside and I took some acrylic paint to cover these pumpkins. I next came in with this pickling white wax from Dixie Belle just in the indent lines. I also went over with a darker orange in the indent lines on some of the pumpkins. I'm going to take this dowel and I'm going to poke it down through the pumpkin. Then I'm just going to begin poking on my other pumpkins as well. Then I'm going to take this rustic bucket, I'm going to weigh it down with a rock, put some paper in, and then I'm going to push a styrofoam ball in there, and I'm going to push the end of the dowel into the styrofoam ball. I'm going to shove in some of this natural looking grass here, and then I'm also going to paint some of the stems of the pumpkins and stick them back in, and I'm going to decorate the tops of the pumpkins as well. I also made a little sign here for the top.
I have one of those foam crafting pumpkins and I want to make a hole in the top of this one and also in the bottom. Small pumpkin, and I'm going to cut a hole in the bottom. I have my drill and I have a longer drill bit on it, and I'm gonna just drill some holes around each of the pumpkins. And I'm just taking a small amount of brown paint and I'm just following the ridges of the pumpkin. I'm taking a small string of Christmas lights. I'm gonna pop some in there, and then I'm just gonna put the whole thing into the top of the middle pumpkin and run it out the bottom. Now I'm gonna glue the pumpkins together. And now I'm gonna add a stem. I cut some bittersweet vine from my backyard, and I'm just gonna wrap it around the sections of the pumpkins.
I wanted to cut off the corners of this big hunk of styrofoam, but I'm going to wedge this all the way down. We're gonna start with some fresh plants. Then back here, I picked a couple of mums, and I had some scraps of owl rods, some beautiful silk leaves, and push these down in the middle of my styrofoam here. I have things like pumpkins that we're gonna add. I just picked up things that I thought were nice for fall and nice color, but would raise up above. And I had one of these inexpensive chain leaf garlands left, so I'm just going to cut it apart and add some of these. We're going to cut these into, I have a 6-foot piece of wood trim. Use low temp glue and hot glue these on. What I'm gonna do is take it and lay it on top of the styrofoam. 2 pipe cleaners, hook them together. I am going to wrap these around the wood and the garland. And then we're just gonna take it and tighten it really tight, and then we'll come back and cut those off. And this is what you have now. I have gathered a selection of fall leaves and foliage, and we're just going to build this up with foliage now. So I'm going to take my fruit, I'm going to cut these skewers so they're a little shorter, and I'm going to start to add fruit to the styrofoam. So I have my little hook right here that I made. Yes. I'm going to use these kind of command strips. You're going to hook 2 of these together, them really tight, and then you're going to peel off to expose the sticky side. So we're going to stick this right on the back of the wood. And now we're just going to press that right against the door frame.
So I grabbed this tomato cage and I took some Bare Premium Black Matte spray paint and I took it outside and I spray painted just the vertical poles of the tomato cage. Once the spray paint was fully dry and I cut off the top portion of my tomato cage, I then came in with some very heavy jute twine. You just start at one spot on the circle and you just lay your jute twine over top and hold it there until the hot glue sets. Once the hot glue sets, you just take the jute twine and you wrap it all around the circle, and then I just finish it off by securing it with a bit of hot glue, and then I'm going to go ahead and repeat the process on the other side of the tomato cage.